Respect and fear, these twin pillars have structured human relations for millennia. Niccolò Machiavelli, observing the chaos of Renaissance Italy, distilled this reality in a stark maxim. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. This insight cuts through the veneer of idealism to expose a pragmatic truth about power and respect. Affection is fragile. Fear, when wielded wisely, is enduring. Machiavelli's observation resonates because it touches on something fundamental about human nature. Humans are social animals wired for both cooperation and competition. The social order requires rules, limits, and hierarchies. But these structures are fragile unless enforced with authority. Love and affection, though deeply desirable, are unreliable as foundations for authority. They can waver with emotions, circumstances, or self-interest. Fear, by contrast, is a more consistent motivator, grounded in the recognition that certain actions bear consequences. Yet Machiavelli was clear that fear must not cross into hatred. Hatred breeds rebellion, while fear fosters obedience and order. This nuanced understanding anticipates later thinkers like Thomas Hobbes, whose grim view of human nature in Leviathan echoes Machiavelli's realism. Hobbes famously described the natural state of mankind as solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, governed by fear of violent death. For Hobbes, the social contract and the sovereign's absolute power exist to impose order on this chaos. Fear of the sovereign's power is essential to prevent descent into anarchy. Hobbes's philosophy deepens Machiavelli's insight by framing fear as a necessary condition for peace and security. Without fear of punishment or loss, self-interest drives individuals to conflict. Respect for authority, grounded in fear, prevents social collapse. But like Machiavelli, Hobbes warns against excessive cruelty. The sovereign's power must be absolute, yet just enough to maintain peace without provoking hatred and revolt. Moving forward to Friedrich Nietzsche, we encounter a different yet complementary perspective on fear, respect, and power. Nietzsche critiques traditional moralities and champions the will to power as the fundamental driving force in humans. For Nietzsche, power is not just political, but existential, the force through which individuals assert their values, overcome weakness, and shape their destiny. Nietzsche's Übermensch embodies a figure who commands respect not by seeking love or approval, but by living authentically and powerfully beyond conventional morality. Here, fear takes a complex role. The Übermensch is feared because of their strength, independence, and refusal to submit to herd mentality. This fear is not merely about coercion, but about reverence for a superior mode of being. Nietzsche's philosophy dialogues with Machiavelli's by emphasizing the psychological dimension of power. Leadership and respect emerge not just from external authority, but from inner strength, courage, and authenticity. Fear that commands respect is inseparable from self-mastery and the projection of uncompromising will. Max Weber, the sociologist, offers a complementary lens. Weber defined authority through three types: traditional, charismatic, and legal rational. Fear and respect manifest differently in each. Traditional authority relies on long-established customs, often invoking respect through reverence for the past. Legal rational authority is grounded in rules and laws, where fear of sanctions maintains order. Charismatic authority, the closest to Machiavelli's prince or Nietzsche's Übermensch, arises from personal qualities that inspire devotion and awe. Weber highlights the fragility and volatility of charismatic authority, which must constantly be renewed. Fear and respect here are entwined with the leader's ability to project an aura of legitimacy and power. Without this, authority crumbles. This sociological perspective aligns with Machiavelli's advice to rulers to cultivate an image that commands fear and respect. Psychologically, fear and respect operate on both conscious and unconscious levels. Social psychologists describe dominance hierarchies as fundamental to human groups. Individuals who signal strength, decisiveness, and confidence often ascend these hierarchies. Such signals evoke a mixture of fear and admiration that stabilizes social dynamics. Fear here is not terror, but a sober recognition of boundaries and consequences. It emerges when individuals perceive unpredictability or weakness in others. Leaders who hesitate or waver invite disrespect because they signal vulnerability. Conversely, those who demonstrate consistent firmness cultivate a psychological safety zone where followers know what to expect and are thus willing to submit respectfully. This dynamic is mirrored in attachment theory in psychology. Secure leaders or caregivers command respect because they provide reliable boundaries and protection. Insecure or inconsistent figures generate anxiety and rebellion. The capacity to be feared respectfully depends on emotional regulation and self-control, qualities Machiavelli implicitly valued. At the core, learning to be feared without becoming hated requires an intricate balance. It is about developing a presence rooted in inner strength and fairness. Fear that commands respect is not about cruelty or domination, but about clarity and consistency. It says, "Here are my limits. Cross them at your peril." This boundary setting protects both the leader and the group. Consider the workplace, where managers who seek to be liked often lose authority when tough decisions arise. Those who combine fairness with firmness maintain respect and cooperation. This principle applies universally, from families to governments. Fear balanced with justice fosters trust, while fear grounded in cruelty breeds resentment. Machiavelli's wisdom also challenges modern cultural assumptions. In a world that often equates leadership with charisma or popularity, his counsel is a sobering reminder that true authority is more than charm. It requires the courage to confront discomfort, to enforce limits, and to embody strength. But fear alone is insufficient. Respect also demands justice and integrity. Leaders who rule by fear without fairness sow seeds of discord. History is replete with tyrants who maintained power through terror only to be overthrown by uprisings fueled by hatred. Thus, Machiavelli's ideal leader is one who inspires fear because they are just, consistent, and wise. This fear generates a foundation for stable respect and loyalty. The ruler's legitimacy arises not from mere coercion, but from the perception of rightful power exercised with prudence. This insight has profound implications for personal development. Respect from others begins with self-respect. If you tolerate disrespect, fail to set boundaries, or avoid confrontation, you signal weakness. Cultivating fear in others, then, begins with cultivating strength within. Standing firm in your values, acting decisively, and facing conflict with courage send powerful signals. Hesitation invites challenge. Conviction inspires deference. The metaphor of standing tall, shoulders back, gaze steady, is not superficial. It represents psychological readiness and responsibility. Machiavelli's lesson transcends politics. It speaks to anyone seeking to navigate human relationships with dignity. To be respected is to be feared, not in the sense of cruelty, but in the sense of commanding clear, fair authority. This journey begins inwardly, mastering your fears, clarifying your limits, and embodying your values. When you do, you not only protect yourself, but transform how others perceive you. You become a figure worthy of respect, capable of leadership, and grounded in strength. In this light, Machiavelli's counsel is not cynical pragmatism, but a profound understanding of human nature. Fear that commands respect is the stabilizing force of social order, the foundation of authority, and the mark of true leadership. To embrace this is to accept that power and respect are complex, requiring balance between strength and justice, firmness and fairness, fear and loyalty. It is an art as ancient as society itself, yet ever vital today.